Good afternoon. It's wonderful to see so many people joining us today to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. This is McGill's 5th annual edition, and the Hiawatha Belt flag is flying behind us atop McGill's emblematic building, the Arts Building. My name is Dicki Chhoyang. I'm the Interim Director for Indigenous Initiatives. I would like to invite Elder Kevin Kanasoho Deer to say the opening words, the Ohanda Gariwadekwa. Elder Deer is the faith keeper in the Mohawk, one of the faith keepers in the Mohawk Trail Longhouse in Ganawage.
Nagade, Winizarade, Toske, Yori Hawana Nua, Nohodo, the Watarunu. Naway Radina Dukanene, Oguahua, Rawanizara, Winizarade. Tanu Guaigazi, Yori Hawano, Zenohodo, Onakzi, and the Watarunu. Honda Zinora Tkadasu, Nagadi way, Zinidaway, Naganusestanugua. Honda Signore Tana Nohodo Dari Watandi. Na way, Nodo Dona Duka, Yetnistan Hudza. Nazi Zinizi Jadaso Jim Zade, Signore Uinizarade, say a Guegu, Yogut Kawahaja, a Guegu Nohodi Ugotsta Chada Winizarage, Tani Yatana Jodakte. A Guegu Zinohodo Ganga Gero Humzage. Nona Dasa to Goro, Anaga Nohodo Gahruni Nioni. Saguna ne, Tanizi, Aguero dio Daja. Honor Zinagane Gajokwa Guegu, Aguegu Aska, Nea the Wawet Nuni Nuguat Nigura. Tanu that's the Nuwaradu and Hodo the Wanadukune, Sa Oyera, Got Saston Sara Goa, Tisegu got Idewes one when is Rade, Tinizi Dakana Raja, Sague, Yoguayo, Skana got Nigurio, Nedzi Yotsanunya, Tisegu got Idewes, Wagare Tukadi Nizi, Antkadaso one when is Rade. So just a few words. So today we're talking about Aboriginal Day. We're talking about Turtle Island. We're talking about the indigenous spiritual wisdom of this land. And one of the things that we do is before we get together, the Longhouse people, we do what we call the Thanksgiving address, where we acknowledge all of the people. Because as I look around today, we're all seemingly in good mind, good health, good spirit. And that's something to be grateful for. And why is that? Because in our creation story, this is Turtle Island, this is Mother Earth. Everything that we need for our happiness, our joy, and our well-being is here in this lower world. When you look up, all the things in the upper world, all of those elements are all still doing their ancient duty, roles, and responsibilities, and all that is required of us every day is we give thanks. And for us, it's expressed through ceremony, song, dance, ritual, and speeches. So now on behalf of everybody, we bring our minds together and we acknowledge that source of life for all life, that we're all participating in this sacred dance. So anyways, these are the things that we do in my culture. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you and thank you for giving me this opportunity to start this off. Jonkoa.
I would like to acknowledge that McGill University is located on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful for their traditional stewardship of the land and waters that we enjoy to this day and for which we are very grateful and on which people from all over the world continue to gather. I would now like to invite Principal Fortier to say a few words.
Bonjour. First, I want to thank Elder Deer for opening this beautiful ceremony for us. Elder Deer, it's always such a pleasure to have you with us and to hear your words of wisdom. So, merci beaucoup. I have to tell you, we had Elder Deer yesterday as well for our scarf ceremony, so it's really great 2 days in a row. Let's make it a habit to have you part of our community. Et bonjour à vous tous. C'est vraiment très beau de voir tous ces gens qui se sont réunis aujourd'hui pour honorer ce jour de la population autochtone. Alors, merci d'être avec nous. Il y a un petit peu de pluie, mais je pense que notre Elder Deer nous dirait, écoutez, c'est bon pour la terre, un petit peu de pluie, alors on va profiter de ce moment. J'aimerais aussi souhaiter la bienvenue à Madame Despina Sourias. Elle est ici de la ville de Montréal. Elle est conseillère associée au comité exécutif de la Ville de Montréal et elle a beaucoup de responsabilités. Responsabilités pour les jeunes, pour les personnes aînées, pour la diversité et pour la condition féminine. Alors, on vous souhaite beaucoup de succès dans toutes ces responsabilités. As you know, we are gathered here today to honor the traditional Iwawata Vampum belt flag. It's flowing there on top of our campus there, on top of the McCall McBain building, and it is really a way for us at McGill to celebrate in a symbolic way this Indigenous heritage and culture. I want to take this occasion to acknowledge the leadership of Elder Michael Loft. Elder Loft was McGill professor in the School of Social Work, and he was the one who initiated the flag-raising ceremony that was back in 2018. So thank you very much to start this great tradition at McGill. So on this day, as you know, people across Canada recognize the contributions of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis community, the people who have created this beautiful country for us, and also to celebrate their culture. For us at McGill, it is also a day that is important because it's a day for us to renew our commitment to Indigenous studies and Indigenous students. A great initiative launched by our Provost, Chris Manfredi. So you know that we have made some very important commitments, entre autres, d'augmenter la présence et le succès des membres du peuple autochtone sur notre campus, les étudiants, les membres du personnel. Alors, on s'est engagé à le faire, de reconnaître et de célébrer la part remarquable à notre vie académique des gens de la population autochtone et de continuer à progresser parce qu'on sait très bien qu'il y a beaucoup de travail à faire sur la voie de la vérité et de la réconciliation. Vous savez, cette année, on a eu beaucoup de cérémonies. D'ailleurs, je suis allée à une rencontre avec les gens de la Ville de Montréal. Ils ont dit, le premier festival à Montréal, c'est pas le festival de la francophonie, c'est le festival des tas mortiers. Alors, il y a eu beaucoup d'événements McGill avec nos étudiants qui venaient célébrer leurs accomplissements et nous qui étions là pour les féliciter. Et à chaque collation de grade, c'était tellement beau de voir l'accueil, la fierté et les applaudissements pour nos étudiants autochtones. On en a eu 110 cette année qui sont diplômés dans la collation des grades de 2022. On espère en avoir de plus en plus à chaque année. Alors, c'est vraiment un apport très important à notre communauté ici à McGill et on en est très heureux. Merci beaucoup et bonne cérémonie.
Thank you, Principal Fortier. Our next speaker has been an unwavering champion and a driving force for McGill's reconciliation efforts. It's under his leadership that McGill's 52 calls to action were launched in 2017. Provost Manfredi.
Well, thank you very much, Dicki. Kwe, bonjour, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today, and my special thanks to Faithkeeper Ganasawan Kevin Deer. It's my honor and pleasure to welcome you to this special event in recognition of National Indigenous Peoples Day. The Hiawatha Wampum Belt flag is a symbol of peace and unity. We raise it each year above our downtown campus to recognize our shared and sometimes difficult history, to focus our awareness on the Indigenous heritage of this land, and to reflect on the path toward reconciliation and our shared commitment to Indigenous presence, representation, success, and scholarship at McGill. Universities have an important role to play to create spaces for open dialogue, cross-cultural learning, and knowledge sharing, and a particular role to play with respect to our collective response to the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. In 2016, I launched a task force on Indigenous studies and Indigenous education. Their final report, with its important calls to action, have been the driver of our own efforts over the past 5 years. Indeed, that the Hiawatha flag flies above us today is in part the result of the very right insistence by the members of the task force and the persuasive arguments of Mike Loft, as the principal said, and the community members they consulted, that the symbolic can be as important as the concrete. It is a testament to our commitment to work together and recognition of the efforts and aspirations of the people who are doing the heavy lifting, boldly, visible, and immediate, while you work to build a better, collaborative, inclusive future. While there is much that can still be done here at McGill, we have made progress thanks to the efforts of committed members of our community. We've enhanced our recruitment efforts with more sustained and focused engagement with young people and community leaders in the communities. In 1875, McGill bestowed a degree to its first Indigenous graduate, Dr. George Bomberry, for the Six Nations. Since that time, the presence and contribution of Indigenous students at McGill has continued to grow. This year, as the principal said, we are delighted to recognize the accomplishments of 110 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis students who have completed degree programs and certificates. I'm also pleased that our faculties have welcomed new Indigenous professors to the university across a range of disciplines. In September, we will have the pleasure to welcome Professor Celeste Pedry-Spade. Professor Pedry-Spade will become McGill's first Associate Provost for Indigenous Initiatives. An Ojibwe scholar and artist, Professor Pedry-Spade is from the Lac des Mille Lacs First Nation in northwestern Ontario. In her role as Associate Provost, she will oversee McGill's ongoing response to the 52 calls to action articulated by the Task Force on Indigenous Studies and Indigenous Education. Our capacity to include and reflect Indigenous knowledge, epistemologies, and culture is also growing. Students of the Indigenous Inclusion Committee of the Engineering Undergraduate Society recently launched Project Chhoyang, a digital exhibit featuring artworks from a variety of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis artists projected onto the walls of the McConnell Engineering Building lobby. I'm particularly pleased that this innovative digital exhibit was born out of an Indigenous student-led effort to raise intercultural awareness with their peers in the Faculty of Engineering. Supported by McGill's Visual Arts Collection, the Dean's Office of the Faculty of Engineering, and the Provost Indigenous Initiatives Office, this collaborative effort is a step toward making our university more inclusive to our Indigenous communities. This superb project, as well as other initiatives on our campuses, are stepping stones toward a more equitable and just society. There's more work to be done, and I'm confident that our university community will be able to meet the challenge and that our third century will mark a new era of indigeneity at McGill. Nioen, merci, thank you. Et je voudrais maintenant inviter Mme Despina Sourias de la Ville de Montréal de vous faire quelques paroles.
Thank you for the introduction. Elder Kevin Deere, Interim Director Dicki Chhoyang, Principal Suzanne Fortier, Provost Mr. Manfredi, Mesdames et Messieurs, Kwekwe, bonjour à toutes et à tous. Je suis très heureuse de me joindre à vous aujourd'hui pour cette journée nationale et montréalaise des peuples autochtones. Cette journée, tout comme le mois de l'histoire des peuples autochtones qui se tient maintenant en juin, sont des occasions de souligner la présence autochtone à Montréal et de reconnaître l'histoire des Premières Nations. L'apport, je parle toujours pas bien dans un micro, j'apprends. Donc, l'apport des différentes nations et communautés autochtones est indéniable, et ce, dans toutes les sphères de notre société. Cet apport, riche et diversifié, se voit et se retrouve partout en ville. Aujourd'hui, c'est l'occasion de réaffirmer que la Ville de Montréal poursuit son engagement et la mise en œuvre de la stratégie de réconciliation avec cœur et détermination. La Ville de Montréal a fait du 21 juin la Journée montréalaise des peuples autochtones en 2017. Et en ce même moment, elle a également endossé de façon unanime la Déclaration des Nations unies sur les droits des peuples autochtones. Ce jour-là, la métropole a suivi le mouvement vers la réconciliation, qui est une priorité pour notre administration. C'est un dossier qui est porté par la mairesse et ma collègue Alia Hassan-Kournol. En 2021, nous avons d'ailleurs modifié la Charte montréalaise des droits et responsabilités pour ajouter l'endossement de la déclaration. Et en 2020, la Ville de Montréal a adopté sa première stratégie de réconciliation avec les peuples autochtones. Of course, there's still much work to do, as we all know. The work and deployment of the city strategy continues through its policies, political processes, obviously, and action plans. The City of Montreal recognizes the 1,000-year-old Indigenous history of the island and the important place that Indigenous people occupy in the cultural fabric of our city. Through various forms of expression, be it public art, cinema, exhibitions, the official history of Indigenous people is brought to life, and we are learning a lot, and I'm actually very happy to be living at this time because my daughter will have the privilege of learning about this history, which I don't think we had the privilege of doing so decades ago. So I'm very grateful to be living here today. In the City of Montreal's recent declaration for National and Montreal Indigenous Peoples Day, the Mayor, Valérie Plante, reaffirmed our commitment to build bridges in the process of reconciliation. She also reaffirmed our determination to work together with communities to address the systemic racism and discrimination faced by all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are also pleased to see that many partners are following suit. I would like to salute McGill University, which is my alma mater, in this regard for all the energy and efforts put forth. I was glad to hear about all the actions that are being undertaken. Par le Service des initiatives autochtones, par la Journée nationale pour la vérité et la réconciliation, par la Journée du chandail orange, l'Université McGill honore le statut de Montréal comme ville de savoir, de paix et de réconciliation. Merci à tout le monde. Thank you, everyone.
Merci, Madame Surya. Our next guest is Darren Bonaparte. Darren is a Snipe clan member of the Mohawk community of Akwesasne. He is the author of several books and articles and is the creator of the Wampum Chronicles, a website about Mohawk history and culture. Darren is a frequent speaker, guest lecturer at McGill and other educational institutions in both Canada and the United States. He serves his community as a cultural consultant for television and tribal historic preservation officer for the Akwesasne Mohawk tribe and is a former chief of its Mohawk Council. We're pleased to have him join us today to explain the meaning of the Hiawatha belt flag that is flying atop the Arts Building.
Sego, thank you for that wonderful introduction. It's been a long time since I've spoken here at McGill. I always enjoy the annual presentations that I give to a couple of the different programs, and I've been doing that for almost 20 years now. So it's one of the great things about the work I do is sharing it with students and faculty and letting everybody know about the missing pages from your history book that we find when we take a closer look. And I want to just shout out to Ganawage, another Mohawk community nearby. I'm from Akwesasne. Also to anybody from Gunnesatage who may have made the journey. So I got to take care of my Mohawk peeps first. And I want to thank Kevin Deere for always being awesome, and he's as smooth as Jiffy. My daughter said you got to throw in at least one Bruno Mars reference, so I'm in a city. I gotta do what's customary. Now, in the years since I last spoke here in person, a tragedy has befallen the world. We've lost millions of people in an epidemic, and so the clouds of darkness and grief hang over the whole world. And in our culture, we have a ceremonial greeting that we do at the beginning of all of our big meetings. Whenever we come together at the Great Council Fire, the speaker would welcome the people by holding up a string of wampum, and he would say basically these words, that over your heads are dark clouds from the grief that you are suffering. Perhaps you've lost an elder. Perhaps you've lost some of your warriors. Whatever the case, I see the darkness, I see the tears in your eyes. With this string, I wipe the tears from your eyes so that you can see that the clouds are going to part. The sun will shine through. The sign will fall down. And you will know that life goes on in spite of the darkness of our grief. So with this string, I wipe your tear. And then the speaker would hold up another string and he would say, with this string, I unblock your ears so that you can hear that the birds are singing, children are laughing, people are singing songs, and that life is continuing, and you must rejoin the living. Your time of suffering, of grief is past you. So they would take this string and symbolically unblock the hearing so that they can hear clearly again. And then he would take a third string and he would say, with this string, I give you clear water to clear your throats, to take a deep drink of that water so that you can unblock your throat. When you've been crying a lot, you have all this this knot in your throat that stops you from speaking, from singing. Well, with this water, we clear your throat so that you can partake in those things again, because your time of grief and suffering is passing by you. So that's how we would address the grief that people have felt since we last gathered. They took care of that. It was called the small condolence ceremony. Now I hear some jingles making ready to take over. So I will get back to the wampum at hand, which is the Ayahuasca belt, also called the Hiawatha belt, and it's also called a Hunjawago in our language. And that is the inspiration for the flag that you see flying over there behind me. It's the original wampum belt that signified the formation of the Five Nations Confederacy. And I'll just hold it up a little bit better for photography purposes. This wampum belt symbolizes the covenant chain between the Mohawk, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, and the Seneca. It links us together as if we were bound together by an iron chain, or a silver chain, as some call it. The silver covenant chain of peace and friendship. It's what unites us and binds us together into one. And so this has been a potent symbol of peace and unity for our people for generations. How old technically? Some say 300 years, maybe 250 years. We don't really know when the original belt was made. Perhaps someday an analysis will tell us exactly when. But the Confederacy itself is centuries older than that. This is just how we document and memorialize that agreement that we all agreed to be bound by this sense of brotherhood and unity. So we are truly one group of people that have a common purpose. And in the colonial times, the history of Montreal, if you study the documentation, you will see that there were a great many councils held right here in the streets of Montreal where our people would come together and exchange wampum belts with the colonists as eternal commitments to peace and friendship. Sometimes that commitment drew us into war and conflict, and we are less today because of those conflicts. So hopefully people today will learn the lessons of the past, will not engage in future divisive and terrible conflict, that we were all meant on earth to be on earth to share it and to be friendly and brotherly to each and every one of us. And so that's the dream of this wampum, why they wove it. That's how it became a flag. It wasn't just because it was a convenient rectangular shape. No, it's because of the meaning that goes into it. So when you see that flag behind me, the purple and the white, I want you to remember that's what it's there for, is to celebrate the unity And we're allowed to be ourselves. We're allowed to be as diverse and original as we are. But we all come together for that common purpose, just like the students come together at McGill to study and to learn and to advance the society that they live in. So it's my great pleasure to be able to speak to this belt, to share the teachings that go with it, and to be a part of this celebration with some of my Ongwehome brothers and sisters. Nyawagoa, Tano Ono.
Would you like to come under the tent so that you're sheltered from the rain? Yes, you can come here if you want to. Yeah. Mike, please. Yeah. Yes, please. Feel free. Yes. So we will now have two performances. An Inuit drumming piece by Nina Segalowitz, followed by a dance performance. Nina is Inuit throat singer with 25 years of experience. She also performs spoken word and does traditional hand drum singing. Her art is about sharing her lineage, her traditions, and using music as a way to bridge the relationship between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. She has performed with the Montreal Symphony Orchestra and also impromptu performances with Bobby McFerrin. Sorry. Nina's drumming piece will be followed by a dance performance by Don Barnaby, Stephanie Irubrazo, and Yanadoro Snow. Don is originally from Listigouche, Quebec. He's a respected traditional person who takes part in many cultural events throughout Turtle Island, including McGill's annual powwow. Stephanie is Anishinaabe from Lake Simon. She grew up in Jojage. She's a multidisciplinary artist, dancer, actress, writer. She's taking part in today's performance as a fancy shawl dancer. And Yanadoro, my apologies, is from Turtle Clan from Ganawage. She's an 11-year-old jingle dress dancer who has performed this medicine dance from a very young age, young as 2 years old, she tells me. So she's a professional now. She's a pro. She also jumps ponies, and two of them, if you'll notice in her headdress, are depicted on her headdress today. So we're delighted to have them with us to share their culture. Nina?
Good afternoon. I'm very honored to have been invited to come and share my song. Thank you to the Ganegahaga people for letting me do a performance on their territory. I'm Inuvialuit and Dene from Northwest Territories. I'm a 60s scoop survivor. Both my parents went to residential school, and it's been a journey for me to back to the drum. For a long time, I felt like an imposter because I grew up in a Jewish and Filipino home. So reconnecting with who I am was a really difficult journey. But today I stand before you as a proud Inuit and Dene woman. I was speaking to somebody earlier, and she was like, I don't know if I should stand here or, and one of the things that I told her was never apologize for the space that you take in this world. And that reminded me that I cannot apologize for the space that I take in this world, along with all Indigenous people, and not to be apologetic for our strength and our presence, but to be proud of who we are. And today marks a really important day. It's National Indigenous Day, but I know every day for me is National Indigenous Day, and I teach my kids and my grandkids who they are, and to be proud and never walk in shame like my parents did, like I did when I was growing up. And so to stand here before you is a really proud moment for me as a mother, as a grandmother, And the song that I'm about to share with you is the Dene Healing Song. And I sing that to celebrate our healing as a people, but also as the journey goes on, our healing together. All of you standing here are part of our truth now. We talk about truth and reconciliation. Our truth is right now standing here with you, saying our words and you listening. But as you walk away, to have you carry our words with you for the rest of the time, and for you to share with your families and your friends what you saw today and what you witnessed today. That's where our truth is going to be spread and how our relationship is going to be healed. So this song is going to be sung in celebration of our ancestors, but also of your ancestors and all the choices that they made so that you may stand here in front of us today. So this is for our journey forward together with understanding and open heart. And I thank McGill for the invitation, and I thank my ancestors for their strength. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here today. Nakochmek. Is it okay if I stand up there?
Thank you. That was wonderful. The music to which the dance was performed is by the Red Tail Spirit Singers. I would now like to invite Elder Kanasohodir to say a few closing words. Thank you.
So just to leave with some, if I would say, pretty profound, deep knowledge and wisdom. So in 1986, I moved to Six Nations for a while to learn from the chiefs, the clan mothers there. A woman who stands out in my life was a woman by the name of Sarah Smith, and I call her my turtle clan mother. But here's what she said. If you ever look at a bicycle wheel, you see that there's the tube and the spokes are in the inside. Well, we have a wampum that talks about our government. We call it Kajokwan Hakstu. But she says in a time in the future, what's going to happen is those strings that are on the inside, because we were kind of locked and didn't want to share too much, those strings are going to go on the outside. And when you formulate in your mind a circle with all of those 50 strings on the outside, it represents a sun. Because it said that one day, that sun is going to resurrect up, but it's going to be bringing the indigenous spiritual knowledge of this turtle island. And when I first heard that teaching, that was in 1986. Here we are today. What's today? The longest day. Today, our elder brother, there's people in Ganawage that just around noontime had sun ceremony because we acknowledge our brother of the brightness of this day, of the love and the beauty. So now we're opening up, we're sharing. You see that flag is high on the institutions. And what it is, it's symbolizing that the indigenous spiritual knowledge is resurrecting up, because in this are the wisdom and the seeds for environmental stewardship, for ending war, for peace, for love, for community, and being mindful of those future generations that are coming, so that when they will be born, they will inherit a happy, safe, clean, peaceful, beautiful, loving home, and we cannot let them down. So with that, thank you very much for being here today, and I'm just going to close now with a few words in my language. Hajotkugiwai tinitu was a wadadi tanuga hondunugwa wadaza wanunyakwe tanagwegunugwa suwa gwe watkunuwaradu. Onawaga kashungun wat nigura. Nona as a watan de ayans na jotku skana tinidis a wanutunyu. Jotku as a wadat garidage tinora aris katana the watarunyu. So now your minds are free as you go about your life. I say that hopefully you'll be continued to be blessed with the power of good health, peace, happiness, joy. Until the next time, we'll have the opportunity to be in each other's sacred presence. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Elder Deer. Thank you to all our guest speakers and performers today. And thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us today. Like Nina said earlier, while we celebrate National Indigenous Peoples Day today on June 21st, for reconciliation to succeed, every one of us has an important part by considering every day National Indigenous Peoples Day. So on that note, thank you again. See you next year, and we will conclude today's program. Thank you.